Welcome to our Wealth Channel. I'm your host, your street brother mentor, Hardy Bey.
And I'm your co-host, Crypto Corey. And this is the Wealth Channel, where we help people bridge the wealth gap. All right, so today's topics, guys. Lawsuit accuses Jane Street of manipulating the market. The complaint alleges that the trading firm used coordinated strategies to distort prices, raising new scrutiny over market structure and oversight of high-frequency trading practices. Bitcoin surges. The cryptocurrency climbed sharply over this past week, where traders responded to liquidity conditions and increased institutional activity. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we have FOMO, fear of missing out. We're driven by news and media cycles.
Today's topics, ladies and gentlemen, coming from our wealth desk, we're going to be talking about JP Morgan Chase, the position that they hold. They hold 750 million ounces of physical silver. That's major. The next topic we will definitely be discussing is COMEX. COMEX has stopped trading on Wednesday. Why they stopped trading, we will definitely get into that, because that is another major play that is affecting silver and affecting your bottom line. Another topic that we will definitely talk about is the U.S. government putting silver on the critical minerals list. This is a major topic, ladies and gentlemen, because I didn't even know this until I got into the research. Well, I guarantee JP Morgan knew. So, from that, without that being said, let's jump right into it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about Jane Street and their market manipulation, they were shorting Bitcoin every day at 10 a.m. once the market opened. Here's how that plays out. This is called market makers. And when you have 6,000 employees who are traders, and also they own the BlackRock ETF, so they literally were manipulating the market. We have never seen anything like this. But guess what? Guess who also came from Jane Street? SBF, the former owner of FTX. So they've been on the radar list, and with them shorting Bitcoin, put it like this: if you have billions of dollars to play with, you can literally control the market. And so we've seen this happen with stocks. We've seen this happen with Forex, which is foreign exchange, but we've never seen it happen in crypto. And that's the reason why the Clarity Act will just get more structure and more regulations to not allow this to be going on. And so if we don't get a hold of this, not just in the crypto space or the digital currency space, but if we don't get a hold of this, this is something that can continue to go on, and they made money on it. That's why there was a Bitcoin surge, because for once, you didn't have that market manipulation happening at 10 a.m. every day. Most people haven't heard of Jane Street until this news came out, but guys, they've done it before with a company called Terra Luna. They made that company crash, and the owner of that company actually ended up going to jail, if you guys remember that. So Jane Street, they're on the radar. If you can look back day after day after day at 10 a.m., and I think this was probably done Monday through Friday, you'll see that the Bitcoin it was an immediate sell-off. And that's because they were just manipulating the market. So now we'll see the difference in the trading of crypto. And then also, ladies and gentlemen, if you look on the blockchain, that's what I love about crypto and digital currency and blockchain technology. It's transparent. If you look on the blockchain, you'll see that there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever to be created. We're at 19.99 million Bitcoin, almost at 20 million that's in circulation. So that means we literally only have 1 million Bitcoin left. The banks and hedge funds, the governments are worldwide are buying Bitcoin, and some of them are using it as a strategic national reserve. Over the last 6 years, the U.S. has turned a money printer on, where they're printing so much money, and that has been one of the reasons to inflation. And so what goes up must come down, what goes down must go up. So that's what I love about crypto. It's only 21, or Bitcoin specifically, it's only 21 million Bitcoin ever to be mined, ever to be put in circulation. Right now, we're at almost 20 million Bitcoin. So it doesn't matter how many people that want to get more Bitcoin after the 21 million is out in circulation. And the last Bitcoin will be mined in 2035, either 2035 or 2040. Don't quote me on that. And so when people want more Bitcoin after that, it's going to be gone. And so fear of missing out, you see on the blockchain, companies like JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon once said that anybody that participates in crypto is foolish and it's a scam. But now JP Morgan is invested in crypto. And you can see on the blockchain that they were invested in crypto when they said years ago that people should not be investing in it. All right. So the fear of missing out. You don't want to just listen to the news and listen to podcasts and listen to people on social media. You want to know for yourself. DYOR, do your own research. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Wealth Channel, we want to inform you, but then we can inform you of the information all day long, but you got to go educate yourself. Yes. And then not only educate yourself, but take action. So fear of missing out. Don't miss out because people are putting a banana in the tailpipe telling you crypto is going to crash, but then they're buying. They're just buying at a cheaper price. And so when you saw that market manipulation go away this past week, that's why Bitcoin took a surge. And guys, I will tell you this, repeat after me and keep this in your head. Crypto should not be about buy low, sell high. It should be about buy low, borrow high. You never want to sell an asset. You want to be able to will that asset or pass it down to your kids and your kids' kids, because this is the last opportunity to create generational wealth that I believe. I just saw a statistic today. The owner of NVIDIA said that between 2026 and 2030 is the last chance for regular people to attain wealth. Think about that.
4 years.
He said that 2026 to 2030 is the last chance for regular people. See, there's ultra wealthy, there's levels to this. There's ultra wealthy, there's rich, then there's the poor middle class. Most other countries don't have a middle class. And so that gap, that wealth gap is going to be just widened. And we want to, here on the Wealth Channel, we want to give you the information and tools to be able to not miss out on this opportunity. So when you see crypto at 60,000 or Bitcoin at 60,000, you see HBAR, you see XLM, you see Solana, you see XRP, all these different crypto projects on sale. They're not going to stay on sale forever, especially because of the use cases. So guys, we don't want you guys to miss out on this wealth opportunity to get some real wealth and some generational wealth. And the time is now.
And you know what, Corey, speaking of that, manipulation, talking about manipulation, because manipulation is one of the majorest things that's happening today. And that's going to pull us right back into JP Morgan. JP Morgan has accumulated 750 million ounces of silver. How did they do it? To give you guys a backdrop of JP Morgan in 2008 crisis bought Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns at the time, when they bought Bear Stearns was shorting silver. So they had a short position. And when you buy a company, you buy their assets, you buy their position too. So for 15 years, you were saving your money and JP Morgan was buying silver. They were just stocking up. And what they were doing was they manipulate the market. They got caught in 2020 manipulating the market, manipulating the precious metals market, and paid a fine of roughly $920 million.
Slap on the wrist.
Slap on the wrist, right? And they never stopped, because they knew their play on what they were going to do. And their goal was to accumulate that 750 million ounces. And so, I'm going to discuss on why JP Morgan has done it and what they have done, and the fine that they received in 2020 for manipulating the market, $920 million, almost $1 billion. Can you imagine that? You're getting fined almost $1 billion. It's a slap on the wrist, and you just keep going, and you still keep doing the same behavior, because you understand that the wealth that you're going to gain is going to be much more than the fines you're going to pay. That's a game that they play. A fine is a game that's played in the financial system. The banks do it. Everyone do it. We have seen it over and over again, ladies and gentlemen. But let's stick to JP Morgan and their game plan. So now that after Bear Stearns, they've been shorting silver forever. This is what happened in November when y'all saw silver go to 120. Then drop sharply back down to 71. And if you know anything about what's going on with silver, precious metals as a whole in Southeast Asia right now, if you would buy that same physical is going for 60% more than the paper, because here in the West, we mainly use the paper. Most of you guys that's holding silver right now or any precious metals or assets, they're pretty much digital. They're in paper. And this is how they also have been manipulating the game. But JP Morgan manipulated for control. Now JP Morgan single-handedly holds more silver physically than countries. JP Morgan can supply the whole world for 1 year for how much silver they hold. COMEX don't even hold as much money, silver as JP Morgan. COMEX only holds 88 million ounces of physical receivable silver. So what does this mean to you guys, ladies and gentlemen? It means that the control play is coming. What is silver used for? Solar panels, EV, AI, data centers. So JP Morgan understood the game. They understood that we would rather pay these penalties to get in a power position to hold the most critical a mineral that we're going to need for the 22nd century. So they understand that. And this is why they paid the fine, continue to pay the fine to hold that position, because that position is power. So what that tells us, whoever holds physical truly holds the real power. And now JP Morgan is in a position to do that. So we're going to switch to COMEX, and we're going to get into COMEX. And what is COMEX doing? So COMEX stopped all trading. They stopped trading in November, like we discussed, 120 to 71. What happened? What happened was those options or those contracts were coming due, that now in November you can take physical silver, because there's a buffer. When you buy this stuff, you can't go get physical silver immediately. It's kind of like a bond. They might say 6 months, now you can receive the physical silver. It's coming up again in March. And this is why they just stopped the trading. And they say, oh, my servers got hot. Oh, things are shutting down. And this is starting to become a pattern, ladies and gentlemen. See, if me and you did this, it would be called fraud. But they can do what they want because they control the system. COMEX controls the system. So this is important for y'all to understand. In the market right now, there's 1,260 million ounces on paper. And then there's only 320 million physical silver ounces. So that tells you, ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. And COMEX on their site holds roughly 660 million ounces. But that's not real. Physically, they only hold 88 million. So how is this going to affect you? So in March, coming up in a few days, what's going to happen is you're going to go the same thing that happened in November. You now can physically get physical silver. You can call for your physical silver, but they know they don't have it. So they're playing these games and playing this antic game of saying the server shut down and whatnot, so they don't have to give it to you. And they physically don't have it. If we all showed up today to get our silver, it would not be there, just like the bank. That's why it's called a bank run, because if everybody show up at one time to get their money, we cannot get it. So this is very, very important for you guys to know what silver is doing. So when you look at it on the Western, and you got to also do this, and this is very important. And I don't know if it's the same for crypto, but you got to look at the Western world and the Eastern world. When China came back out of Chinese New Year, silver was trading at $102 an ounce. And here in the US, it was trading at roughly 87. That's a big difference. What is going on? So it tells us that the West is manipulating the market for people like JP Morgan to be able to buy more of it and buy it. And they'd already done it. So mission has been complete, because where's silver at today? 91. It broke up out of that. Gold had already broke back out of 5,000, but they kept silver for so long. Silver stayed back into the 70s and the 80s for about 2 weeks or so. It never broke out. But now that JP Morgan has finished their mission, silver can go to 500. Silver can go to 1,000, because JP Morgan understands companies like NVIDIA, Tesla, and these companies, they're going to have to pay astronomical money for this silver. So it's very, very important. So they understand this is the new play. And then they also understand, and for us to go online, if we went online right now to produce more silver, we don't have enough. It would take us 7 years to produce more silver right now. And that's what people don't understand. It takes time to produce certain things, critical elements. It takes time to build. So this is very, very important for you guys to understand. So last thing on silver that I want to touch on, silver falling into the U.S. critical minerals playbook. What does that mean to you? It shares with you that silver is so important that the U.S. deemed it critical, just like China did. China stopped allowing you to now ship silver. You can't take it out the country anymore. Why? Because the 22nd century is going to need silver, ladies and gentlemen. So, and all that in a nutshell, silver is your key. Silver is the way for you still can gain wealth. Gold is getting out of some people's reach, but silver is still in your reach, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely get this, but definitely get physical, because I just shared with you that there's not enough physical around. So if you're not holding it, you're holding trash. So definitely you need to get the physical part of the silver. So, that's definitely the take on silver and what's going on in the silver markets, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely do your own research, pay attention. Don't take what we say for face value here. Our job is to give you game and our understanding of what's going on in the market. So go get silver, go get it now.
So it's funny that JP Morgan's involved with manipulation on the crypto market. They're involved with manipulation on the silver market.
Major player.
And if you everybody follow the money. You got to go back to the Davos summit that just happened. You got to go to the UN summits and the World Health Organizations. The big players worldwide, that they come and they go to these meetings and the market goes, one way or another.
Yep.
But when it comes to you talking about on the crypto side, that's what I love about crypto and the blockchain, is because it's going to show you it's 21 million Bitcoin created. It's going to show you, there's no market manipulation that's supposed to happen in crypto, but crypto is not regulated. And so when you talk about these big conglomerates that are buying up the physical and doing one thing on paper, like, that's the name of the game.
Yes.
Market manipulators. And ladies and gentlemen, you got to start, educating yourself, because, I read charts. I trade as well. I trade Forex, futures, options, and I read charts. And so I'm looking at these spikes in the market, and then there's a sell-off. I know me and you had that conversation about when gold was taking off, how when it was at a certain point, it had to sell off. I already knew I'm going to do a short on gold.
Knew the short was coming.
Yeah. Because what goes up must come down, what goes down must go up. So what are your takes on, just JP Morgan being involved with just a lot of this market manipulation?
Well, we know, when going back to the history of JP Morgan, JP Morgan has an interesting history because JP Morgan had loaned the whole United States government money. You can't fathom that. As one man back in the days loaned the United States government, bailed them out, JP Morgan. So it's like in the fabric of our culture. But not only that, this is a multinational conglomerate. So JP Morgan's is a conglomerate, man, so of course they're going to manipulate the market to their advantage.